What is good, Tesla family? It's Ray J back with another video, and this one I want to break down what's going on with Tesla, SPY, Nvda, the QQQ, and a couple of other tickers. I'm going to break down what's going on with the economic calendar, some very important pieces of information about the news coming out, what the news is saying about Tesla, and how all this could affect Tesla's share prices. We have some very important resistance levels to be watching for. Before I break anything down all this information, before I get into any more details, let me just mention a couple of things. I am firstly not a financial planner, so take nothing I say as financial advice. And also, if you guys can, please smash the like button if you want to see more videos like this. It not only benefits me, it benefits the entire Tesla community as a whole. So anyways, guys, let's talk about what's going on with the market. Tesla, SPY, the QQQ, and many tickers out there are quite green right now, as we're seeing the market trying to rebound after we got some decent data. But the question is, will this move last? Is the market going to continue to hold up, or are we about to see a rug pull? So I'll be breaking this down over the next couple of minutes. I'll be talking about the data too, and then I'll talk about the charts at the end of this video. So when it comes to data, the GDP numbers were decent, with GDP growth quarter over quarter being 4.9%. Initial jobless claims was at 205,000, below expectations, and the market's response is quite positive so far. Now, on top of this, GDP sales were up about 3.6%, which is close to what the forecast happened to be. And thus far, the market is liking this. However, during the 11 o'clock a.m. hour, so for the entire hour, we have quite a bit of data coming out at that time. This is going to be the next time we have some more data. 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. That is going to be about an hour and a half after market open, by the way. We have the Kansas Fed Composite Index and the Kansas Fed Manufacturing Index data coming out at 11 a.m. And then at 11:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, we have the 4-week and the 8-week bill auction coming out. This is going to be one of the most important hours for the remainder of the trading day. Watch for volatility at 11 o'clock a.m. and 11:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. We'll see what this causes for the markets. Besides that, there's nothing else too crazy that's coming out. Tomorrow, we also have like PCE data coming out, so it's going to be pretty significant. Now, to add on to all of this, I just want to mention that FedEx ended up dropping quite a bit because of its weak revenue outlook. That did play a role in why the market sold off. There was also news involving China. There was news involving technicals, at least according to many of these different analysts, and all these different things that played a big role in what we saw yesterday. There's also manipulation and factors like that. We will see if this continues for today. Warner Bros. Disney held basically potential merge talks with Paramount. That was some big news, but we don't have any specific news yet about whether or not this is going to take place. Citigroup is closing another business that was a part of their overhaul of the bank. So that's actually going to be about 40 people who are employed. With this happening, that's some negative news for them, but it's not that insane. Labor unions and pilots have a big year, as we're seeing $1 billion deal to help give aviators a double-digit pay hikes. That's some big news. This is going to affect both sides, at least to some extent, so that's worth noting. And finally, retail investors are putting more money into Tesla than ever, according to some research. That's once again, we recently saw the largest flow of individual investor dollars of any security this year, especially into Tesla, so that's some interesting news, as well as retail is getting more and more involved. Now, when it comes to the market is climbing, at least for now, despite what we saw yesterday. And then when it comes to Tesla, these articles are saying some negative things because Elon Musk says our prototypes are easy, but production is hell when it comes to the Cybertruck and the 4680 battery pack. On top of this, they delivered their first futuristic stainless steel pickups, but there's been a lot of talk about the difficulty in doing so, ramping up production and battery output and things like that. So with that being said, I mean, I'm not too worried about this for the long term. Short term, yes, it's going to be difficult. Yes, it's not going to be profitable in the beginning, but long term, it's going to be just fine. But there are a lot of sources saying about talking about the difficulty of producing the Cybertruck in mass scales, and a lot of negative articles like that. It is true, but at the same time, you can't forget about the long term future. The good news for Tesla, which is helping it pop as well, is that VW, Porsche, and Audi finally said that they're going to be using the EV charging plug. Good news for Tesla. This article did come out, like, I think yesterday. This is some decent news. I did go over this in the past, and Tesla's continuing to gain control with that happening. So right now on Tesla, we're watching the 50 EMA. This is going to be around the 252 area. That's going to be our resistance on the 30 minutes time frame. Then above that, we also have resistance very close to 250, 254.5 to 255, which is going to be our next imbalance. We're going to be watching those resistance levels very carefully. But if we zoom into the chart of Tesla like this, I want to show you guys something. We basically have a flag forming. As a reminder, if you want to become bullish on Tesla, let's first talk about this. I want to see Tesla blast off and try to get back above this yellow trend line, because you could see we had a channel here. We saw Tesla respecting this area. So if we break 256 on Tesla, there's going to be an attempt for it to push much higher. It's going to turn back to bullish. If we're stuck in this channel, we're going to see Tesla just range trade for a bit. And to turn bearish, you want to see it lose 250. If it loses 250, it has a gap to fill down to 248 and basically a retest of 247, which if it fails, then 244 to 245 is next. All right, so what do I see happening for now? All right, I went over the bullish and bearish cases just to be as clear as possible. We might see Tesla kind of like do this, but make sure we watch this support trend line. My gut is telling me that there's going to be a risk of Tesla potentially losing this trend line. If we do lose it, our last point of hope for the bulls will be this 250 area. We got to try to hold it. If we break it, it could end up coming back down towards this level to fill this gap down here if we lose 250. That's why 250 is green. It's a green little line right here that's going to be key. This green line is going to be our key support for today. One of the key supports at least. If we lose this, there's going to be a bigger drop coming to fill this gap below. So watch and see if the market could hold. We have this channel developing. Because we're forming a bear flag, I think there's a good chance Tesla might reject and come back down, guys. So just be very careful. I just wanted to warn you about that. There's a good chance of that happening, but don't assume it's going to happen. Like, I'm not saying it will happen 110%, but I will tell you is that there's a good chance of it. And watch for confirmation. Watch and see if we lose this trend line just to be safe. That's part of it, the game of trading. You have to be very patient. You have to see if we get those breaks. On SPY, we have something very similar developing. Basically, SPY is attempting to hold up, but we also have this channel. So if you want to be bullish on SPY, we technically want to just like break above 474. If it achieves that, it's going to be bullish, right? That's going to be like the more bullish case, which is looking unlikely. The other case would be us kind of like respecting this trend line like this, but we also have the 50 EMA on the 30 minutes time from as resistance, and then just trying to hold up like this. And the more bearish case would be us kind of like breaking down below this big line right here. You guys can see this line. We lose this, we're going to turn a bit more bearish. And our key support is this 470 area. We have to hold 470. I'm pointing at it, 470 needs to hold. If we lose 470, it's going to be sinking down to fill this gap into the 468. And then we could be looking for a 467 retest, which if it fails, it's going to sink even lower. All right, so can we try to hold up? Sure, but I think that we're going to be watching this trend line right here to see if this holds. We're forming a bear flag, which tends to be bearish ultimately. So we're going to be watching to see if we could try to hold 472. If we get this rejection off of it, our last support is going to be 470. If we lose 470, this thing is going to sink much lower. There's going to be a big rug pull coming. Okay, so watch support, watch this flag. Don't assume it's going to play out until we see this thing truly break. So wait and see, guys. In trading, it's very important to be patient. Right now, the market is trying to uptrend, at least for the time being. Same thing on the QQQ. Watch and see if we try to maintain these levels like this, and watch and see if we get some kind of like rejection off this lower trend line. So this trend line right here, do we get this rejection like this? And if we get this rejection, watch 405.7. If we break 405.7, this is going to be our key support. This yellow line right here, I made this yellow. It's very simple. Then we get a bigger drop if we lose that support at 405.7. So watch that very carefully. We have this channel, this nice little uptrend, but watch 405.7. If we lose that, we're going to start breaking down. If we lose this bottom trend line, that's going to be our first sign of breaking down too. Same thing on SPY, like what I just said about Tesla and SPY, same thing on the QQQ, except watch these different levels. If you want to be bullish, you want to see this thing hold above 408 and eventually start pushing up higher and fail to break down. So that's going to be your bullish case. Right now, it looks like it might respect this channel and maybe break down because of the bear flag. Watch that 405.7 area. If we lose that, we're going to turn more bearish. Nvidia is basically the same. The channel developing is trying to uptrend, but there could be rejection coming. If we fail to break like this 490 area, we could see it come back down. And if we see Nvidia fail at 488, if we get this big rejection here, it could come down towards 485. If 485 fails on Nvidia, we have a gap to fill around 483 and even more downside potential coming at 482. If that fails us, we could get very close to 479 and a big drop could come to 479 again, followed by this trend line of support at 477. Then we have 474 and 471. So overall, with this flag forming, there's going to be a risk of downside for Nvidia. So just be a little careful, guys. Let's see if it holds this for now, and if we could get confirmation for a break to the downside. If we get that break, expect this thing to start sinking back down towards 485, and then lower levels all the way down to 482. Then we have 479 and etc. coming. And then finally, last but not least, for Aapl, just want to call out the same formation. If we're bullish, you want to see this thing break and hold. Basically, get very close to 197 and break above that. If we're bearish, you want to see it basically lose support down here at this lower trend line. If we lose that, we're going to be sinking all the way back down towards 195.6. If we lose 195.6 on Aapl, this thing is going to get a rug pull back down to the 194s. So make sure you watch 195.6 as key support. And we'll be watching to see if this channel holds, especially this lower trend line. If we lose this 195.6, it's going to be our next level. If we lose that, we're going to be sinking much lower. So I'll be watching that very carefully, guys. Hopefully this video was helpful. Make sure you watch these channels. We have a bunch of them, and do what you have to do. Don't forget that Tesla's in a critical state. We'll be watching to see if it can break above its resistance or not. And with that being said, guys, take care. I'll see you guys very soon for the next intraday update video. Have a great day. Make sure to remember you must hunt and not chase. Look at the different levels and see if price action plays out before turning way too bearish or way too bullish. And we'll just be very patient for the time being. All right. Thank you again. I really appreciate everyone, and peace out.